Okay, so we've gone over how to remotely save an image off of a Clonezilla computer, or sorry, off of a computer using Clonezilla. Now we're going to go ahead and go over how to restore a computer using Clonezilla. Okay, so this assumes that you already watched the previous video on how to restore it. I'm going to go over a lot of the same stuff because it's really kind of very similar process. So basically we have Clonezilla, and I just want to point out that the version we're using is the server edition. Okay, so basically we would create a live CD of Clonezilla server edition. We'd boot that onto a server. That could be a laptop, it could be just one of the computers in a lab. Okay, and then we're going to plug in a USB hard drive to actually save the images onto. Okay. All right, so the version that we're using of Clonezilla server though is not the version here. So if we go to clonezilla.org and go download, basically we get the 251 edition. I'm going to go ahead and use the files archive on SourceForge, and we're actually going to go down to the 247 edition. So this would be the home. We go to DRBL Live Stable, and we're going to go to 247. I've just had less problems with it, so. All right, so when we get the ISO for AMD 640, and in a previous video I showed you how to burn that onto a disk using Rufus. Okay, so all right, so there we have it. So we have that, and I just talked about the setup. So basically, in this case, we already pulled the image off of a pattern computer, right? So we made our computer we wanted. We had our perfect software on it and everything, and so then we went ahead and took an image off of that in the last video. And so this time, now we have a lab full of computers that are all hooked together via a switch. Okay, so basically a switch. So this has 8. So you can get 7 computers on there plus a link either to the server or to another switch, right? Or you can get larger switches. The point is that basically you can run it on a switch. Okay, you don't need a router or anything like that. You just want something that is just going to send your packets everywhere, basically, or where they're supposed to go. It doesn't have to be complicated, is my point. Okay, so Clonezilla is going to provide DHCP, so it's going to provide IP addresses to the computer. So we don't need a device that's going to do that for us. Okay, so a switch is good if you have questions. Okay, so we're going to have the switch. We're going to be booting a server from a USB, regular bootable USB, and then we're going to plug in a USB hard drive to catch the images, right, to save the image, or to save the images to. In this case, we're not going to be saving the image, we're going to be pulling the image off of the USB hard drive. So we have our images saved on a USB hard drive, and we're going to be pulling that off from the server and then sending it out to the client computers, all right? So as we get started here, basically the situation in the lab is we have all the computers hooked into switches, okay? The server is hooked into the switch. The network is isolated, so there is no path out of this closed network we're cloning on into other computers that we don't want to be cloned. Okay, that's very important. Don't hook it into the wall of your office. Okay, it will cause problems. Okay, so and then we have so we have all the computers connected to switches. The server is and they're all turned off, right? And now we're going to connect the server, and we're going to go ahead and boot that using our bootable USB, and we're going to have our USB hard drive plugged in, and that's where we're going to start the video. Okay, so now we're going to set up the server. All the computers are off. We're going to set up the server, and now we're going to take a look at this video here, and I'm going to talk over it. Okay, so essentially what we got here is I'm capturing screen video inside Clonezilla now. Okay, so and the reason for this, I know it's easier to use a virtual machine to do this stuff, but I wanted to make absolutely certain that everything worked as is. There's a lot of ways to set these things up. I've tried a bunch of different ways. Maybe I'm not, maybe I just don't know enough to make it work. That's probably the case, but I'll tell you that using just one of the computers in the room with the live bootable USB, okay, Clonezilla Live on a USB, and attaching a USB hard drive to it is really the easiest way that I've found. It's foolproof. Okay, so it 100% works. All right, here we go. So okay, so we've started Clonezilla, and this is how it boots. So this is the Clonezilla server live. Okay, desktop. All right. And the very first thing we're going to do here is that we're going to go ahead and we're going to mount the USB hard drive. Okay, so we have to have a place to save the images, and that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so to start out, I go ahead and I'm going to launch the terminal. Okay, and the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list all the hard drives that are attached to the computer. Okay, you have to use sudo in front of it, and fdisk. Okay, and the one I want in this case is dev sdc1. Okay, that's likely going to be the hard drive that is the hard drive I was using. How you can tell, just make sure that it makes sense, right? So you're going to go to the size right here, and you're going to double check that it's the right size. It should kind of roughly match the hard drive that you're using. Okay, it is not going to be, unless you want to capture images to the hard drive that's in the computer. That's going to be SDA. Okay, and notice SDA1 is a partition on the internal hard drive. SDA2 is another partition. SDA5 is another partition. Okay, and notice the sizes here. You can kind of tell which ones they are based upon the sizes. In our case, it's SDC1. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to mount the hard drive. Okay, and the mount location is very important. Okay, so for Clonezilla, the only location that it is going to look for images in is this /home/part image. That's the only place it's going to look. Okay, so basically, what we're doing here is we're mounting the root of SDC1 onto home part image. Okay, so any image files that you have to be stored at the bottom level of the USB hard drive. It can't be stored in a folder or anywhere else, just right on the bottom level. All right. So Clonezilla, the image is a folder of a bunch of files. So that folder, the Clonezilla folder, has to be at the root of the drive that you're mounting at home part image. All right, so it's mounted. It went okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you that it indeed did mount. So we go to the file system, part image, home, part image, and now we see these files, these Clonezilla images that I've stored earlier. Okay, so now we're going to start the server, and we're going to go ahead and we need to use a static IP address because there is no DHCP server on the network. Okay. Use this IP address, so use 192.168.1.254. It's going to automatically assign a net mask. That's fine, just accept the defaults. Okay, and it's going to kind of do its thing here. Set up all the clients. Okay, I'm just double checking at this point. I just am double checking to be cautious. So my Wi-Fi was turned on. I'm going to go ahead and I just turned off the Wi-Fi of the computer. You likely won't have to do that. Okay, setting up all the clients. Those are all the IP addresses for the clients. There's 100 of them. In general, I've had good luck with 20 to 25 clients being restored at a time. Anything more than that I've had issues with. It's worked sometimes, not others. 20 or 25 seems to be a pretty reliable number. Okay, it's just going to continue to automatically set everything up. And this is why I say the live edition of Clonezilla is the easiest, because if you try to go ahead and put it on like an Ubuntu installation or something like this, you're going to invariably run into a bunch of networking problems. It's just tough because Clonezilla just has to rewrite so much stuff, basically. Okay, so what we got is we went. Now Clonezilla launches. Now this is the actual Clonezilla, right? So what we're going to do here is that, so we're going to do all clients, beginner mode. Okay, and we're going to go down to restore disk. So restore disk, not parts, right? Restore disk. We want to skip checking. Okay, if you don't skip, it's going to take forever. Okay, we do want to power off. I usually just power off. You can reboot, but it's going to connect back to the Clonezilla server unless you're right there. Okay, now this one is important. So basically, if you don't see an image here, you've done something wrong. Okay, so basically, once you go from no skip image, okay, the very next thing is power off, and then basically, if you don't see images here, essentially your mounting of your hard drive didn't go right. Okay, so if it doesn't find these right here, maybe the images weren't at the root of your drive, maybe it didn't mount right, but this is where things will go wrong. All right, so if you don't see the images here, and it should be the name that you named them when you collected them, then it's a problem. So okay, in my case, I'm going to go ahead and choose an image. Okay, I'm going to choose, I'm going to choose I'm going to choose the image. Oops, I didn't pause soon enough. Okay, SDA is fine, it's just one disk, all right? And then I'm going to choose multicast. That's important. Multicast is important because the fact that multicast means that it's sending out just, if it's 100 gigabytes, it's sending out 100 gigabytes one time, not 100 gigabytes to every single computer you're imaging. Okay, clients to wait or time to wait. Okay, so this is kind of an important one. Clients to wait means that if you put in 20 clients, it will wait for exactly 20 clients to connect and then we'll go. Okay, now the problem with this is that let's say you have 35 clients in the room and you get to number 34 turned on and all of a sudden number 35 doesn't want to boot, or you have some problem, it's not connected, right? Something goes wrong, right? Well, then it's not going to start. So what you can do is you can put clients plus time to wait, which means that, hey, we're going to connect 20 clients, but then if it goes wrong, then we'll just start. Okay, I usually use time to wait. It just is easier for me because usually it takes me a couple times to get 40 computers done in a lab. So I just turn everything on, see how many get connected, and then the next time I do the rest of them. So that's whatever you want to do though. So. All right, so time to wait, it's in seconds. Okay, I'm going to do 120 because it's a demo. I would never do 120 in reality. I'd do like 240 or more. Okay, 2 times entering, so enter and then I think enter again, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so enter and enter again, and then finally this is what you should see. Okay, so at this point the server is running, it's on the network, it's running, you don't close this window, you just let it sit here. Okay, now you're going to go and just start powering on all your computers that you want to clone, and basically just make sure they boot PXE boot, and you should immediately see them get an address from the server, and you should see the splash screen for Clonezilla come up on them. Okay, you don't have to do anything on the client, so basically everything's controlled by the server, but they do need to boot from PXE, and they do need to show you that Clonezilla splash screen. Okay, I really hope that it helps, and best of luck. Good luck.